So that's basically what it is. So it's literally Marvel versus DC. You had things like Superman versus the Hulk, and Spider-Man versus Superboy. Flash versus Quicksilver. So some of the matchups were pretty like much like what you would expect.
Mm.
Like Thor versus Shazam because they both have obviously the lightning power.
Yeah.
Um, Superman versus Hulk because they're probably the two strongest characters in each of their universes.
Yeah.
Um,
Batman versus Captain America.
yeah, uh, Wolverine versus Lobo, which I guess because they're both kind of like badass like anti-heroes.
Yeah, and they're
Um,
like kind of like they're like just scrappy dudes.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like they're not anti-heroes, but they're like well Lobo is an anti-hero, but like
yeah.
Wolverine, like he doesn't play nice all the time.
I would say
Like I would say
Wolverine in
Wolverine is
some
very
run.
relatable to
Yeah,
like a
in
lot.
some runs he's kind of an anti-hero. Uh,
Yeah, like some of them he just like Old Man Logan, he like
yeah.
is, I mean, that's an amazing comic altogether. I haven't read it in some
Hmm.
time, but I've got it here. In that one in particular, he just kind of like he's just like an outlaw, almost like a gunslinger type, where he's just like gonna
Yeah.
do whatever he's gonna do.
Hmm.
Where like others, he does tend to cooperate. Like in a lot of the bigger events, he'll cooperate. I mean, he'll be like snarky here and there, but he'll still
Hmm.
like do what he's got to do, or like he'll just do what he's told. Where
Yeah.
others and like other ones, he'll just do his own thing, or he'll just like disobey orders and like just go by his instincts.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the difference maker between Marvel and DC is that like a lot of the DC comics, they're they're very focused on like the on the fantasy aspect
Hmm.
of the superhero world, where
Yes.
like you don't totally, like you might see some of their problems, but for the most part they'll still be ready to take on anything, and like there won't be like any major weaknesses other than like what they're physically weak against.
Hmm.
There's like where Marvel tends to focus on like developing the backstories further, and like having the reader empathize
Yeah.
like with them. Like they have very real like the struggles that the Marvel heroes are going through in their personal lives
Hmm.
are always very relatable on like a personal level, and it's just kind of like, oh man, like I could totally be friends with Spider-Man and not know that he's Spider-Man. Like,
Yeah.
whereas in DC there's that closed off connection, like in the Marvel world there's like the real, it's as if it were in real present day, like even the cities are the real cities,
Yeah.
like New York City is in the Marvel universe, whereas
Yeah.
in DC they might mention it every like once in a while, but they take place in their own fictional cities.
Right. Um, I think also with Marvel, the difference with the Marvel and the DC, and this isn't always true, but it's kind of like, I think it rings true most of the time, is most of the Marvel heroes are like average people that kind of acquire their powers by mistake. Most of them, like, like the X-Men, they're mutants. They were born with powers, but like they didn't ask to be heroes. They just like kind of fell into that because they have powers. Um, and like Spider-Man like was like bitten by a radioactive spider, so like he didn't ask to be a hero, he wasn't born a hero, kind
Right.
of became a hero. Whereas a lot of the DC heroes kind of are more like they were born to be heroes, like Superman was like born to be Superman. And yeah, Batman wasn't born to be Batman, but like because of a string of events when he was a child, just that molded him into Batman.
Well,
you know
he also always had the resources to
right.
like to do it.
Right. um I mean, I guess like Tony Stark, and you can kind of argue had that in
Yeah,
Marvel
Tony
because
Stark is
he
similar.
just had the money to that's his superpower basically. Although I know the later issues of Iron Man, he kind of like it's almost like his powers are superhuman rather than just like him making like expensive technology, because he has like all these nano machine things that kind of like basically just come out of his skin to be his suit.
Yeah.
Um, but like yeah, I feel like more of the Marvel heroes are just like kind of like every men that were just shoved into being heroes. and they didn't really want to be, while the DC heroes were kind of like born and molded to be heroes like from the start, you know?